Welcome to Trading Lounge and the European indices. We'll look at the DAX, the FTSE and the AEX, and starting with the DAX here on the 4-hour chart. In a nutshell, we'd been looking for wave 3 and then an A and a B and a C for wave 4 here. We counted 5 waves down through to here, and I'm looking at this being the low here, and then we're looking at this being wave 1 here and wave 2 here. Now that's fine, but I must point out that if this low here is breached here, then we would need to look at this slightly differently. We would need to look at it at having one more low into place. So we would need to look at it, well, I'll just keep it really simple, like this here, and then the bounce off the 12,000. Okay, so don't go shorting this unless you get the 12,000 as a retested resistance, and that would be, if I can just over here, if it comes down to the 12,000, it's going to bounce back and at least go to the 100 here where the the previous support was, and then move back down through here, then come back up and retest it. That would be your trigger below here. If that moves through here, you'd be triggered short. Of course, you can enter anywhere in the process here. It's just higher risk. Well, it's not high risk if you look at the details. So the detail of this rally here on the cash market would need less volume in it than the move down through here. It would also need to be in 3 waves as well. So once you can identify that, then you can build into the scenario. And also up here too, if this move up here is on lower volume than the move down here, then it's a corrective pattern. So you know it's going to fail, and then you can move in at a higher rate here and in here and so on. But unless that occurs, then we need to look to the long side here. So I'm just going to put this back here as I had it here, and let's just see how this low plays out here at this particular stage. Here we'll take a closer look at this. I'll just want to save that and then move to the, I think we'll be working on the hourly chart. Yeah, well, it's the same picture here as well. So yeah, I mean, as far as this goes here, then this low is still in place here, so we can run with that. So really, if we're looking to move to the upside from here, then normally when I turn bullish on a market, that I like to gather some evidence and so on. And one of the main points for me, and being in this area here, is always finding support on group 1, which is 12,300. So really, in the slightly bigger picture, until that becomes the tested support here, then this market is still at risk here. It's basically trapped within group 1, which is 100, 200 and 300. And when so when it's trapped in that, and when the 200 becomes the retested resistance, then it's normally pulled down to the 12 here. And if we're working with the 12, then we need to look at group 2 here, which would be 65, 72 in here and 80 here, but just in the hundreds here. So realistically, when we're looking at group 1 here, we've got group 1 here, and then we've got to bring that down to group 2 here. So really, that's the swing range for a corrective pattern at the next highest degree of number here. So I think that's always worth bearing in mind. And yeah, so if we get support on top of 12.3, then we're good to go. You could get in earlier, of course, if you've got a nice support on 12.2 here, 12,200. Yeah, you could even go to the point of taking not only this high out, you could go even lower here. See all those open and closes here through here? That's significant in one way or another. So just taking out the highs here would also be for a small position here, then building onto here, and then you've got group 1 within the 200 here as 30 here. 10, 20, and 30, then the midpoint. So these are all places that you can add on to. So we would need to see the market move up directly from this. Otherwise, a move down into the 12,000 would only see another bounce. Now, the bounce can be the low for this wave 5 here, as I mentioned, and then move straight up from that, or work lower. So look, being operating within group 1 here in the early stages of a market arriving here is always dangerous. So if you're going to go long, then buying off the bounce on the 12 would be good as well. Now, I want to go to the FTSE before I go to the AEX, actually, because with the FTSE here, we were also looking at basically a low being in place from this little move here, and turning here. We talked about this yesterday, the last time we spoke, and we had the stop over here. So now I'm just bringing it up to here. This would be the logical setup, even though I didn't mention that here. But looking at this particular trend up here, it looks like we've got 1 and 2. Nice strong third wave here. So this is likely to be a fourth wave and a fifth wave here. And then we can pull back to the 50-60% retracement level from that point there. So let's just look at that from this low here. Let's just call it in at the 7.5 here. So just looking how far this can pull back. So it can pull back into the top of 30 here. So 7,430 is where you need to keep the stop out of the way from here. So we don't particularly want to move us. I mean, a stop is just a safety thing. We don't want to stop triggering us out of the trade unnecessarily. So you just normally bring it in, from one low. When the next low establishes itself, you bring it into that one. So once this low establishes itself, we'll be able to bring it up to this point. Otherwise, you may as well just get out, take 50% of profit here and take the rest up here and wait to get back, and get back in again. But sometimes, if things can get a bit fiddly, it's easier to get out, but sometimes it's harder to get back in because you need to manage the risk of that, of a new trade, so to speak. So, it's just something that we all have to work through. Now, the AEX here is, it's been in a slightly different pattern than the other markets. It's sort of leading, and we can put that down to, I don't know how fully, because I don't fully understand the Netherlands scenario, but if we use Unilever here, just on the 1 hour chart, we were looking at a top here, we're looking at the turn, and we've got the A, the B, and the C wave here. Now, I've labelled this as wave 1 up here, and then an A wave and a B wave, and then looking at 5 waves down for the C wave. So I'm thinking that there's actually a low in place here as well here for this market to move up. So, but it could get bigger and uglier. I mean, when to, get your timing right for this trade, the market's got to prove to you, it's got to prove it to me before I go in. I know that any long trade in this space here is a higher risk. So once it sits on here and triggers this top out here, then I know that we're on our way at that point. So that's really the safety trigger at this point here. Any move move in here would be higher risk. So you'd use less capital, and you would make sure that you've actually, the market is trending up. If it's trending up on Friday, then it's likely to follow through on the Monday. So anyway, this is such a nice pattern here. It just makes things a little bit easier as such. So the AEX, this move down here, we've been looking at this as wave 1 to the upside. I'm not sure if we've been looking at the 4 hour or the 1 hour or whatever. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. So we've got our ABC, that's okay. We don't need to worry about that too much. and yeah, looking at this here. So in this case here, this is the 50-60% retracement level here. This was just another possibility that it could come to. There is an A and a B and a C wave in here. So in terms of trading this here, then we would need this high here taken at breached. So I'll just put this into green here, just to sort of, you can also go lower in here. You just have to work out where you are. So 25 is obviously the midpoint between 20 and 30. So getting support on the 25. This is basically what this market's trying to do at the moment, you know. But I'll just put that there. You can go a little bit lower, you know, lower than the high as such. But look, that's a possible trigger to go long at that particular point. But at the same time, we need to be mindful that this is actually the you know, the retracement level down here further, so we just need to be a little bit mindful of that. But it's really got the same pattern as Unilever in this sense, so I think that's really interesting. I don't know how the banks go in this market, but I think I'll take a look and see what the influence is here. Right, okay, well that's it. So basically we're looking for Friday and Monday to be bullish, so buying any strength would be the go. If there's any sort of bearishness, be really sort of careful, because the DAX can come down to the 12 and have a strong bounce at that point. Even if these markets made, let me just check on this on the cash market here for this, just see if I can see anything wrong with this picture. No, the ABC looks all right. Yeah. All right. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Cheers.